In the heart of New Orleans, a city rich in history and haunted by its past, stands a mansion that has become a symbol of pure horror. The woman who lived there, Madame Delphine LaLaurie, was once admired, a respected member of high society, but behind closed doors, she harbored a sinister secret that would shock even the most hardened of souls. Today, we uncover the 5 most disturbing and verified facts about the real Madame LaLaurie. Born Marie Delphine McCarty on March 19, 1787 in New Orleans, she came from a wealthy and politically influential Creole family. Her parents were part of the aristocratic elite, with strong ties to both Spanish and French colonial rulers. Delphine married 3 times, each time solidifying her status in high society. Her first 2 husbands died under mysterious circumstances, one allegedly of unknown causes in Havana, Cuba, another possibly from an accident, but it was her 3rd marriage to Dr. Louis LaLaurie in 1825 that would lead to her infamous legacy. By the early 1830s, she and her husband built the now infamous mansion at 1140 Royal Street, where they hosted lavish parties for New Orleans elite. But while guests marveled at the splendor of her home, few knew that its walls concealed some of the most horrific acts of cruelty in American history. The truth about LaLaurie's atrocities came to light on April 10th, 1834, when a fire broke out in her mansion. Neighbors and authorities rushed to help, fearing the flames would spread through the French Quarter, but what they found inside was far more horrifying than the fire itself. The blaze started in the kitchen, where an elderly enslaved woman, chained to the stove, had set it intentionally. She later revealed that she had started the fire in a desperate attempt to either escape or end her own life, because she feared being taken to the attic, where she claimed no one ever returned. When the fire brigade and bystanders forced their way inside, they discovered a secret torture chamber in the attic. At least 7 enslaved people were found in various states of mutilation and restraint. Some were shackled to the walls, others were crammed into small cages. Reports from eyewitnesses and newspapers describe iron collars, chains, and signs of severe malnourishment. The discoveries led to an immediate public outcry. As news of the horrors spread, a mob of angry residents stormed the mansion, destroying much of its interior. But by the time they arrived, Madame LaLaurie was already gone. Fact number 3. She escaped justice and vanished without a trace. Despite the city's outrage, Madame LaLaurie was never arrested or punished for her crimes. Shortly after the fire, she fled her home by coach, escorted by a trusted servant, and disappeared into the Louisiana countryside. Some sources suggest she hid with family members before secretly making her way to the coast. Eyewitness accounts claim she boarded a ship bound for France, where she lived in exile under a cloud of secrecy. Though some believed she remained in Paris, there were also rumors that she eventually returned to New Orleans under a false identity. Shockingly, despite the horrors she inflicted, some of her surviving family members continued to defend her, claiming that her enemies had exaggerated the stories. But the physical evidence found in her attic and the testimonies of the victims left little doubt about the atrocities she committed. Fact number 4. The stories of her medical experiments may have been exaggerated. Over the years, the legend of Madame LaLaurie has grown darker, with stories claiming she performed gruesome medical experiments on her victims. Some accounts from decades later describe victims with their bones broken and reset at odd angles, mouths sewn shut, or organs removed and placed outside their bodies. However, historians believe these specific details may have been exaggerations added years later. The earliest reports from 1834 confirm severe abuse, malnutrition, and physical torture, but not the more extreme surgical horrors described in later accounts. This doesn't make her any less guilty. In fact, the verified evidence is already horrifying enough. Starvation, shackles, beatings, and inhumane conditions. Whether or not she engaged in surgical experiments, her cruelty was unquestionable. Fact number 5. The mystery of her death. Did she die in Paris? The exact circumstances of Madame LaLaurie's death remain a mystery, and conflicting records have only deepened the intrigue. For years, historians believed she died in Paris in 1849, living out her final years in exile. This is supported by official records in the French archives, which list her death as occurring on December 7th, 1849, at the age of 62. However, in an eerie twist, a copper burial plate was discovered in the 20th century by cemetery caretaker Eugene Bax in Alley 4 of the cemetery. The inscription read, Madame LaLaurie, born Marie Delphine McCarthy, died in Paris December 7th, 1842, at the age of 6, blank. The inscription is partially worn away, making the exact age unclear, but if accurate, it suggests she may have died 7 years earlier than the French records indicate. Was this a simple clerical error, or had she faked her own death to return to Louisiana under a new identity? The truth remains uncertain. Regardless of when she died, her legacy of horror lives on in legend, and in the restless spirits rumoured to haunt the ruins of her infamous mansion. Madame LaLaurie's story is one of wealth, cruelty, and impunity. Despite her horrifying crimes, she never faced justice, and her ultimate fate remains a dark mystery. The LaLaurie mansion has been rebuilt and had many uses over the years, including a public high school and a furniture store. However, it remains one of the most haunted locations in America, with visitors claiming to hear phantom screams and cries in the night. Was she worse than history records, or has time twisted her story into legend? Let me know in the comments. And if you love dark history, eerie legends, and uncovering the sinister side of the past, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss another deep dive from Darklight Archives.